There's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, I'm Serena from Svalbard, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather, and as always, I bring you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to have Renee of Svalbard, and they will release their fourth album entitled The Weight of the Mask on October 6th via Nuclear Blast Records, and check out singles Faking It, Eternal Spirits, and How to Swim Down. The Weight of the Mask is the follow-up to 2020's When I Die, Will I Get Better? So, Serena, welcome to the podcast, and how you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. Thanks very much for having me.
Not a problem whatsoever. So how excited are you to have this fourth album entitled The Weight of the Mask set to release?
The album comes out in October. It's October the 6th. And super excited. I absolutely can't wait. Yeah, really excited we've been writing this album for quite a long time now. So just can't wait for everyone to hear it now.
Did the album turn out exactly the way you wanted it to as a band?
Do you know what? I think we were actually even more surprised with how the album turned out, because we spent a really long time writing and working on the songs before we went in the studio. But when we went in the studio, so like just before we went into the studio, I think we had an idea of how we were expecting it to sound. But then when we went into the studio, we added loads of extra stuff, and we added the violins, and we added a lot of clean vocals, and just really spent a lot of time diving into the atmosphere of the album. So I'm actually even more pleased with how it's turned out than what I expected.
Starting writing and recording it, because you've been working on this for a very long time, how difficult was it to just be sitting there and still working on this album and just finally getting it out and just be done with it and move on?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of points when we were writing this where I just wanted it to be done. It was, like I say, it was our longest time spent writing our album, and probably our most challenging as well, because it's our first album that we're releasing on Nuclear Blast, which we really look up to that record label. So I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to create something really, really good. And that resulted in a lot of kind of debate over musical ideas and songs. So there were points where I was just sat there like, I just want to finish the song, you know?
Oh, yeah. How important was it to dedicate Eternal Spirits to Joey Jordison, of course, of Slipknot? And of course, we know he passed away in 2021. But how important was it to release something and dedicate it to him?
Joey Jordison is the reason I started playing music. Before I played guitar, I learnt drums because I saw Joey play, and I thought he was just the most inspiring, incredible, talented musician out there. And then I switched to guitar because Joey started playing guitar in the Murder Dolls. So he is the reason I play music. I was lucky enough to meet him several times at different points in his career, and he always made so much time for his fans. He was so passionate, a true gentleman in the metal industry. I can't speak highly enough of him, and I really wanted to create a song that kind of showed how the musical inspiration he gave to me will sort of live on forever. And if you think I'm just one person, think of how many other people's lives he touched. Think of how many other people started playing drums, started playing guitar because they saw how amazing he is. So I just wanted that legacy to be treasured in a song.
What one thing did you take away after meeting Joey, or any points of advice he gave you? What was one thing you took away from getting to meet Joey?
He is, I mean, he was the most passionate person about music that I'd ever met. We had a really long conversation about drums and Mike Patton. He was really into Mike Patton. So we had a really big chat about that, and just his enthusiasm. It knew no bounds. Like, he could talk about every aspect of music just with so much passion and joy. And that was my takeaway. But also, he was the guy who told me not to give up and to keep going. And he was the guy who, constantly inspired me to keep going with music. So just an incredible person.
In 2020, your third album, When I Die, Will I Get Better, was about facing your demons. Now the weight of the mask is about fighting them with everything you've got. Where did the inspiration come from to continue on this facing and fighting your fears on this new album?
I think lyrically, I tend to look very inward, and after sort of lockdown and the pandemic, I was really sort of reflecting on my mental health and how sort of isolation had impacted me, how it had impacted my depression, and how that it had kind of built up a wall between me and sort of the rest of the world. I felt very sort of trapped within myself. And the weight of the mask is about kind of almost being sick of it, like being sick of feeling so low that you start fighting yourself, and you're pushing yourself beyond your means to do anything you can to not let this black cloud get you down.
Is that where Faking It came into this? Is that where this song came from?
Yeah, I mean, Faking It is about feeling pressure to act a certain way because you worry that if you act how you would naturally feel when you're depressed, that people won't like it and they won't tolerate it, and they'll call you a downer, and they'll say you're no fun and won't want to be around you. So faking it is about kind of, they say fake it till you make it. Or I always think of that bit in The Simpsons where Marge Simpson is telling Lisa to sort of wear that smile and push all her sad feelings down into the ground. I think I felt a lot of pressure externally from society to just wear the mask and put on a smile, even though I didn't feel like it. So that's what that song's about.
You are so right. There are so many people who just need to stand up. If there's something you don't like, just get it and be done with it, and just be forward about it, because we all get screwed over every day. It happens. I mean, we live with stuff that we just don't want to take no more. And for those who fake it, man, I feel for you, because it's a heavy weight to carry. Very heavy weight to carry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you feel the new album had to come out strong for the band after the 2020 release of When I Die, Will I Get Better?
Absolutely. So I think we were really surprised when I Die, Will I Get Better got the reception that it did. We weren't expecting it to be as well received or to receive as much praise as it got. So that really took us by surprise. And I think when you've had an album that's sort of blown up for you, you then worry about making the next one. You go, is it going to be as good? Are we going to be able to recapture the magic that we made on the third album? Is it, was that album just bottled lightning and you can't repeat it? So we definitely were quite anxious about living up to the standard that we had set with the third album. But I'm really pleased with how our fourth album's turned out. So hopefully other people will like it too.
I'll tell you right now, Serena, I listened to a bunch of your songs last night on Spotify, and I just got to say, every song that I listened to, and I'm not saying this, folks, because all these bands on here, I'm telling the God's honest truth. There's nothing wrong with any of these songs that you guys have put out. Every song that I listened to was like, I'm head bobbing to. I'm like, man, oh man, this has got great structure and guitar playing and just so good. I mean, your vocals are just heavy, and then the band, it's all in synchronization. It all fits. And kudos for what you guys are doing right now. Seriously.
Oh, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. I appreciate it.
Also, too, when you think about the high praise that when I die, will I get better got? What was going through your mind when it was dubbed by Metal Hammer UK and Kerrang that said this is the most important British metal record of 2020? I mean, this thing made a huge impact.
I mean, that still doesn't feel real to me. It's absolutely crazy to receive that kind of accolade. I mean, the metal press in the UK have always been really supportive of us, but for them to say that our third album was this important and kind of treat it like a bit of a milestone for British metal, I mean, I couldn't be more proud. It's absolutely amazing, and we're so grateful to Metal Hammer and Kerrang for all of the support that they've given us.
How did the band approach this new album when you first started writing and getting ideas for it? I know it's a continuation of that album coming from the third album, but where did you get the ideas from, and when did the ball start rolling? Say, we need to continue on this.
So we are one of those bands, we just always continuously write. We never take a break from it. Every time we meet up, if we're rehearsing for a tour, rehearsing for some shows, we will jam as well at the same time. We'll set aside some time to just try some new ideas. I think it's really important to continue that synergy of creating together, because we're always working on new stuff, which is really nice. I think it's really important to always maintain that creative relationship together. So I think some of these songs we had actually written like as soon as the third album had been released. We've had the song Lights Out, which is on our new album, that we've had that for nearly 2 years, that song. So yeah, it's like, it was a very painstaking process. How it usually works is we don't, even though myself and the other guitarist both live in London, the bass player and the drummer live in Bristol. So it's like 100 miles away from each other. Yeah. We don't email each other riffs. We don't do things via computer. We all meet up in the room together and jam creatively and sort of work together on things. So yeah, that's how we've been doing it with this album. And I don't think we ever went into the room with an idea of, right, now we're going to write the heaviest song we've ever written. Now we're going to write the softest song we ever written. We just sort of let it take a natural shape and see where we go from there.
How to Swim Down is quite a curveball for the band, having clean vocals, and was inspired by War of Worldcraft. Let's talk about this. How did this get inspired, and why did you want to write something like this, possibly?
So How to Swim Down is sort of it's definitely one of the more different songs that we've ever written. It's got no harsh screamed vocals on it, and normally we have mostly screamed vocals with maybe a 10% of clean. This one is 100% clean vocals. It has violin on it. It's quite a slow song. I like to think it's our ballad. It's our Nothing Else Matters. And it was inspired by playing as a healer in the game World of Warcraft. And basically what I did lyrically is I used playing as a healer as an analogy for what it's like to feel unrequited love for someone. So to kind of love and support someone from afar, but know that you have to keep that a secret. So yeah, that's what that song's about. It's kind of an bit different for us, but we've just released it this week and have been super happy to see the reactions to the song so far.
Speaking of having your Nothing Else Matters ballad, what was your thoughts on actually putting this out? Was you like, I don't know how this is going to be received, because this is totally different than what everybody's going to hear from us?
We were so nervous. We were so nervous about releasing this song because it's so different for us. And if you think that the two songs we released before this, Eternal Spirits and Faking It, are two of our heaviest songs. So yeah. You're always worried that you might alienate people with something so different. But it seems to, the comments I've seen so far are all really positive. So it's kind of almost a relief to see that people like it.
So are we going to be seeing more of the clean vocals along those lines moving forward, or just not so fast?
maybe I'd say we'd probably have at least one or two songs like this per album moving forward. I think it's definitely an avenue we're keen to do more of, but I don't think you'd ever see an album entirely clean. Like, we're never going to do that. We're never going to go fully like mainstream and soft. We're always going to have our angry metal songs as well.
How's the fans' feedback been on the release of the other singles like Faking It and Eternal Spirits? What have you guys been seeing on those as well? They've been a lot of positive feedbacks, or do you ever see there's too much of this, need to trim this, don't add this?
It's most of the comments are really positive, which is super nice for us, especially with it being sort of the first thing we've released in quite a few years. So that's been really great. There are, everyone's going to have their opinions, and there have been some where people would have changed the sort of frantic pace of Eternal Spirits and maybe put more of a breather section somewhere in the middle of that song, because that song is relentless. I had a few comments where people didn't really understand the music video for Faking It, which I get. We tried to sort of get this idea across, and maybe it doesn't for everyone. But I think it's a learning curve, isn't it? Like, as long as what people are saying is constructive and not just mean, then you can appreciate any comment, really, whether it's sort of critical or positive, because that's how you learn. That's how you learn what people want to hear and what they like.
Was there a track for this album that totally ended up sounding different than what it was intended to for the album, possibly? Was there one that kept changing, or no?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting you say that, because How to Swim Down, the song we released this week, that was meant to be an instrumental bonus track. So it wasn't meant to have vocals on, it wasn't meant to have violin on, it wasn't going to be a single, it was just going to be sort of something for the extended like bonus edition of the album. But then when we were in the studio, we added so much, we worked on it so much more, and it's a completely different song to how it was like a month before we went in the studio, which is crazy.
Do you think When I Die Will I Get Better, that album opened up more doors for this band? Did it just like explode for you all?
Yeah, I mean, When I Die Will I Get Better was definitely like a huge jump upwards for us, in terms of seeing more people come to our shows, feeling like, I remember after we released When I Die Will I Get Better, that's when I noticed people singing the words when we would play live, and like getting to do much bigger tours, getting to play really awesome festivals, getting to travel more, and things like it being well received within the press. It was a real kind of turning point for us as a band, and it feels like nothing's been the same since we released that album, but in a good way. Like, it's been awesome to see the reaction to that.
Now you guys are on that hot seat because you had songs that inspired you when you was a kid growing up. I mean, you had songs that got you through the day, or that was your jam, as I call them, and now you guys, like I said, are on that hot seat, putting songs out to where people are doing that to your music now. You're helping them, and it's a great thing to where people don't feel like they're an outcast. They feel like they belong, like you're the band's their friend. What's that mean to you guys, seeing this reaction now that since you guys are on that side of the ball?
It means everything to me to think that our songs might make someone feel less alone. Like, that's what I always say. My number one goal in music is to let people who listen to it feel like they have a friend. Like, when you're listening to Svalbard, we're sat there with you. If you're having a great day, if you're having a bad day, like, we are here with anyone who wants to listen to us. And I think it's really, really important. Like, one of my favorite quotes is, "Where words fail, music speaks." And I love this idea of music as a different form of language that you can have a really meaningful connection with. And I would love the idea of people listening to Svalbard and feeling like a sense of belonging, or coming to our shows. And even if they come to the show on their own, but they feel not alone because they belong with the band and with the other fans as well. So yeah, it's that idea of community, because that got me through so much. The thought of being able to provide that for other people is very humbling and very meaningful to me.
You know, I know these are your babies on this new album, but any track standing out more to you than any right now, possibly, Serena?
I mean, my favorite song, not just on this album, but my favorite song we've ever written is How to Swim Down. And also there is a track on the album called To Wilt Beneath the Weight. That one has a really epic guitar lead at the end that I'm just super pleased with. I remember writing it and feeling this real kind of surge of happiness because I love that lead so much. And then there's another song on the album called Defiance, and that song is really about when you're feeling really low and you're really struggling, but you defy the expectations of yourself, and you do get out the house and you do go to the gym and you do surprise yourself and you do make it through the day at work, or any small thing like that you might be struggling with, but you manage to get through. And that song to me is like, it's like me being a cheerleader for myself when I'm struggling. So that song means a lot to me as well.
Any songs that did not make this album we can see on another album, EP, or just a standalone single possibly down the road?
There's a lot of songs that didn't make it onto this album, and that's because we as a band are very hard on ourselves. So we won't put something on an album unless we are all 100% perfect, all in agreement, and really love the song. So a lot of them ended up on the cutting room floor. But what we tend to do with that is we leave them, we let the ideas kind of rest for a bit, and then we come back and we pick them apart. So you might see riffs that we wrote during this time appearing on another song later down the line.
Is the track listing placement important for your album or EP releases, or no?
Yes, it is. I always think there's a lot of, even though we live in the Spotify era and people don't really sit down and listen to an album from start to finish in the same way that they would used to, I think it's super important to we deliberately wanted to front load this album with the hardest, heaviest, most energetic stuff right at the start to grab people's attention right in, and then slowly let the subtle parts unfold over time as the album goes on. But then finishing it with To Wilt Beneath the Weight, which is again another heavy gut punch of a song. That's just to finish it on that same kind of high of really aggressive, heavy music. So it's a very deliberate track listing. Yeah.
What's the growth musical you've seen from yourselves working on this album that impresses you the most as a band?
Well, personally, in between making the third album and making this album, I wrote and recorded my own solo black metal album.
Oh, wow.
And in that process, I really honed in on my vocals and learned a lot about sort of what I can do vocally. And so when we were in the studio recording the fourth Svalbard album, I felt like I had a lot more tricks in the book for my screams. I could go lower, I could go higher. I had a lot more stamina and a lot better technique. So I definitely would say my vocals have really improved over time for this album. And then like Mark, our drummer, he gets better every single time I see him. Like some of the stuff he comes up with is so inventive. I could never even imagine or think the ideas that he has. So I feel like he's really outdone himself. Same with Matt, our bass player. So this is Matt's first album that he's on with us. He joined the band a few years ago, and he absolutely smashed it out of the park doing his bass parts on the album. And then Liam is like someone I've worked with and written music with and written riffs with for many, many years. And I love everything he brings to the table. He is a fantastic rhythm guitar player. And again, he does some vocals as well on the album, and he absolutely smashed it with those as well.
So this record was produced and mixed by Lewis Johns. Working with him, did he get something out of you all that maybe somebody else might not have gotten possibly?
Yeah, there's a reason we always work with Lewis Johns, and that's because he is almost like the fifth member of the band. He knows and understands the emotions that we want to bring out in our music so well, and he's very good at putting you in the right space to really get that emotion and that vibe on record. And he has a really cute dog in his studio, so we go back for that as well.
And plus too, that's his product that he's putting out there. So if it's half shit, that's going to be on him. You know what I'm saying? Because he has to stand by his product that he's putting out there for you guys. And that's good that you have somebody that will put the time and effort in, because you don't want somebody just sit there and, yeah, okay, that's good, let's move on. That's
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, Lewis is, yeah, his approach, he really, really cares about every band that he works with, and he has such a distinct way of producing. You hear a Lewis Johns record and you know it's a Lewis Johns record, and that's what we love about it. We love his attention to detail and the passion that he puts into everything he produces.
Hester Asplin did the album artwork, and layout was done by Lee O'Connor. How was working with these folks?
Hester, it's a really fun story. Hester Aspland is an artist from Bristol, which is where the band is originally from. And she created some amazing artwork that's inside the metal bar in Bristol called the Griffin. It's an awesome bar that, plays loads of metal music, has loads of metal art on the walls. It's super cool. She did some art in there, and I saw her art and went, wow, that is incredible. Followed her on Instagram, big fan of all her work. And then when it came to picking some art for the album, I asked her, and she drew that album cover straight off the bat. She didn't even she just nailed it in one go. She is so talented. So it's absolute privilege to work with her.
All right, Serena, we're going to throw Svalbard out the window for just a couple of minutes, because we're going to get to just know you here on these next couple of questions, my friend.
Okay.
If you could write an album equivalent to your favorite band's album, which album would that be? And I know there's probably a ton racing through your mind right now, but which one?
I would love to write an album as brooding and epic and atmospheric as Century Child by Nightwish.
Oh, wow. Okay. What's been your most memorable show that the band has been a part of that you still cannot believe that Svalbard has been a part of? I mean, there's got to be one, possibly, maybe.
It was this year. It was really recent. This year we got to play Hellfest in France, obviously one of the biggest metal festivals in the world. And I'm a huge fan of that festival to begin with, just to go there and watch other bands. So to be able to play on that stage and to see the huge crowd that we got to perform to, the atmosphere, it was electric. It felt like living in a dream. It was one of those moments that's just going to be burned into my brain forever. It was so special.
If you could be a member in an iconic band and play one of their legendary shows, which band would it be and what show would it be?
Oh, that's quite a tough question. I'm going to go with Slipknot on the Iowa tour, where they filmed Disaster Pieces, which was London Docklands Arena. And that show was just off the chain, absolutely amazing stuff. And I would probably take Jim's place on guitar, I think. I don't think I could do like what Corey does on vocals for an hour and a half set. That's crazy. So yeah, I would love to play guitar in Slipknot for one of those iconic Iowa shows for sure.
Folks, Svalbard will release their fourth album entitled The Weight of the Mask on October 6th via Nuclear Blast Records. You want to get out and check out these singles, also Faking It, Eternal Spirits, and How to Swim Down. Please go out and check this band out. Serena, how can folks stay in touch with this band, buy this new album coming out, everything, the older stuff, everything under the name of Svalbard? How can they do that?
So on Instagram, it's at Svalbard Or Svalbard Band, sorry, I can't remember. On Facebook, we're Svalbard UK, and on Twitter, we're Svalbard Band. Oh, yeah, sorry. Instagram, we are at Svalbard, and TikTok at Svalbard as well. So, yeah, come check us out on socials. Come see us at a show if we're playing nearby. And yeah, just hope you like the record.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up. You only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link and our YouTube link. And then I hope you guys will go out and subscribe to the YouTube link to see all these clusters that I do of messing everything up. So yeah, go out and if you like what I'm doing, please go subscribe and give me a like. I would tremendously appreciate that. And also, please, Svalbard, they'll release their 4th album entitled The Weight of the Mask on October 6th via Nuclear Blast Records. Give this band a fair shot. I'm going to tell you this right now. They are a fresh breath air to the metal, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it, dark metal, whatever. Great stuff. And they are really, really good. So, Serena, thank you for the interview. And I wish you all nothing but the best of luck.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. This was super fun to talk to you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.